Everyone at my girlfriend's funeral accused me of stalking her not knowing I was her boyfriend. And I want to tell you about the 11 minutes between when I walked in and when her sister stood up and ended the accusations. My girlfriend's name was Rosalind. Rosalind had been my girlfriend for 14 months. Rosalind had been 28. Rosalind had died in a car accident 2 weeks before the funeral. Rosalind had been keeping our relationship private from her family. Her family had not approved of any partner Rosalind had had. Her family had been operating from the framing that Rosalind was a perpetually struggling young woman who needed her family's protection. The framing had been wrong. Rosalind had been a software engineer who had owned a condo and been in therapy and been doing well. Rosalind had been telling her family she was struggling because telling them that had been the only way to maintain a relationship with them. Rosalind had been planning to tell her family about us at her 30th birthday in 8 months. Rosalind had not gotten there. I had not been invited to the funeral because her family had not known I existed. I had found out from a mutual friend named Naomi. Naomi said, "You have a right to grieve her." I had driven 3 hours. The funeral was at a funeral home in Rosalind's hometown. I had walked to the front. I had cried at the casket. I had then turned around. Rosalind's family had been looking at me. Rosalind's mother walked over. Her name was Vera. Vera said, "How do you know my daughter?" I said, "I am Rosalind's boyfriend." Vera said, "Excuse me?" I said, "We have been together for 14 months. Vera said, "Get out of this funeral home. Rosalind has not been dating anyone. You are a stalker. You have been following my daughter." Vera called her husband Frederick over. Frederick said, "We are calling the police." I had pulled out my phone. I had a folder of photos. The photos included Rosalind sleeping on my chest. The photos included Rosalind cooking in our kitchen. The photos included Rosalind wearing my hoodie. Vera looked at the phone. Vera said, "These are fake. You have photoshopped these." 2 of Rosalind's male cousins had walked toward me. Naomi had stepped between us. Naomi said, "Vera, this is real. I have known for 14 months. Rosalind has been living with him." Vera said, "You are part of this. You have been lying for him." Rosalind's older sister Linnea had been standing in the back. Linnea was 31. Linnea had been the only sibling Rosalind had been close to. Linnea walked to the front. Linnea said, "Mom, his name is Sebastian. Rosalind told me his name 6 months ago. Rosalind told me she had been dating him for 8 months at that point. Rosalind told me she was happy. Rosalind told me she was planning to bring him to her 30th birthday. Rosalind told me she had been afraid to tell you. Because of how you are right now. You are proving she had been right to be afraid. This man has been her partner. This man loved my sister. This man has lost the most important person in his life. I am asking you to recognize him." Vera was crying. Vera said, "I did not know. Why did she not tell me?" Linnea pointed at the room. Linnea said, "Because of this. Because you are calling her partner a stalker at her funeral." The room was silent. Vera walked to me. Vera said, "I am sorry. Please tell me about her." I sat with Vera for 2 hours after the funeral. Vera asked specific questions. Vera asked all the questions a mother asks when she has been kept out of her daughter's life. We exchanged numbers. That is what I thought 9 months ago. I want to tell you what has happened since then because the comfort stopped being enough. 9 months after the funeral, I had fallen into a rhythm with Vera. The rhythm was weekly calls every Sunday evening. Vera asked about Rosalind's favorite meals. Vera asked about Rosalind's morning habits. Vera asked what music Rosalind played while coding. I answered everything. Talking to Vera was the only time I did not feel like Rosalind was fading. Then Linnea called me on a Tuesday. "Mom has been telling the family you are like the son she never had," Linnea said. "She has been telling people you come to Sunday dinners." I had been to 2 Sunday dinners. 2. Vera had been telling people it was a regular thing. I felt uncomfortable, but I told myself Vera was just grieving. About 3 weeks later, Vera called and invited me to what she called a small family gathering for what would have been Rosalind's 29th birthday. Vera said, "Just close family, nothing big." I drove 3 hours again. When I pulled up to Vera's house, there were cars lining the street in both directions. There were at least 20 cars. When I walked inside, there were about 40 people in the house and the backyard. There was a table near the living room wall covered in photos of Rosalind. I walked over and my chest got tight. Half of the photos were photos I had taken. Photos I had texted to Vera over the past 9 months because she had asked to see them. I had sent them to her privately. I had not been asked if they could be printed. I had not been asked if they could be framed. Then I saw it. The photo of Rosalind sleeping on my chest. That photo was now printed and framed and sitting on the table right next to Rosalind's childhood pictures. My private moment with her was on display, like it belonged to everyone. Vera found me and took my arm and started walking me around the room. She introduced me the same way every time. "This is Rosalind's partner, practically family." I needed air. I stepped out through the back door. Linnea was already sitting on the front steps. "You see what is happening, right?" Linnea said. I said I did not know what she meant. Linnea looked at me and said, "Mom could not control Rosalind. Rosalind left. Rosalind hid her whole life from this family. And now Mom has found the one person who cannot say no to her because he is still grieving. You are her do-over." I said that Vera was just trying to connect. I said that Vera missed Rosalind and this was how she was coping. Linnea did not look away from me. "That is exactly what Rosalind used to say," Linnea said, right before she stopped answering Mom's calls for 3 months. After the birthday gathering, I told myself I would pull back. The next Sunday when Vera called at 7, I let it go to voicemail. I felt guilty immediately, but I let it ring. 2 days went by. Then Vera sent a text. It said, "I hope you are okay. I worry about you the way I worried about Rosalind." The comparison. The way she lined me up right next to Rosalind. It should have made me pull back harder. Instead, I picked up my phone and called her back within 5 minutes. Because the idea that a mother was worrying about me the way she worried about Rosalind made me feel like I still belonged to something that had Rosalind in it. A few days later, Vera asked me for something new. She said, "I want to see Rosalind's condo. I just want to see where she lived." I never got to see it. The condo was the last place that was fully hers and fully ours at the same time. And Vera had never seen it. Rosalind had never invited her. I said yes. I spent the next 3 days getting the place ready. Most of the work was putting things away, things that felt too private. Rosalind had kept a journal. She wrote in it most nights before bed. I had never read it. I had seen her writing in it hundreds of times, but I had never asked what was in it, and she had never offered. I put the journal in the bottom drawer of my nightstand. Then I went to the bathroom. Rosalind had taped little notes to the bathroom mirror. They were affirmations her therapist had suggested. Things like, you are allowed to take up space, and their feelings about your choices are not your responsibility. I peeled each one off carefully and put them in an envelope in the same drawer as the journal. Vera arrived on a Saturday morning. Frederick came with her. Vera walked in slowly. She walked to the kitchen and touched the counter with her fingertips. She was looking at her daughter's life one cabinet at a time. Frederick stood in the living room with his hands in his pockets. He just stood there like a man who knew he was in a place his daughter had not wanted him to be. Vera moved toward the bedroom. She sat down on the bed. She put her hand on the quilt. She started to cry. Then Vera wiped her face and looked at me and said, I want some of her things. Her jewelry, her books, the quilt from her bed. I nodded. Those felt right. Then Vera said, and I saw she had a journal. I want to read it. I felt my whole body tighten. I said the journal was private. I said Rosalind wrote personal things in there. Vera said, she was my daughter. There is nothing private between a mother and her daughter. Frederick spoke from the doorway. He said quietly, Vera, let the man think about it. Vera did not look at Frederick. Vera looked at me and said, Rosalind would have wanted me to know her. You said she was planning to bring you to her birthday. She was coming back to us. The journal is part of that. She was using my own words against me to get it. I gave Vera the jewelry. I gave her the books. I folded the quilt off the bed and handed it to her. But I did not give her the journal. I told Vera I needed time. They left that afternoon. Vera called the next morning. About 5 minutes into the conversation, she said, have you had a chance to think about the journal? She called again that evening. Same question. Then she sent a text before bed. I have been thinking about the journal all night. I just want to know my daughter. That week, Sandy came over. Sandy is my best friend. Sandy had been watching this whole thing unfold for months. I told Sandy about the condo visit and the journal and the calls. Sandy put down her drink and looked at me and said, you are doing the thing where you take care of everyone except yourself. You are not fine. You have not been fine. Rosalind hid from these people for a reason. You do not owe them her diary. I said it was not that simple. Sandy said, it is exactly that simple. You are just too sad to see it. Linnea called me 2 days later. It was late, almost 10 at night. Mom asked me if I knew what was in the journal, Linnea said. I told her I did not. She asked me to talk to you about handing it over. I am not going to do that. Then Linnea said, but I want to tell you something. She told me. She said Rosalind had told her about the journal. Rosalind had told Linnea that the journal was where she processed her feelings about their family. Rosalind had told Linnea that the journal had things in it that would hurt Vera if Vera ever read them. Just honest things. Things that were true and painful and not meant for Vera's eyes. Linnea said, Rosalind did not write that journal for Mom. Rosalind wrote that journal to survive Mom. If you give it to her, you are betraying what Rosalind needed that journal to be. I sat there in the dark living room holding the phone, and I did not say anything for a long time. Finally, I said I understood. I said thank you. After Linnea hung up, I could not leave the journal in the drawer anymore. I needed to know what I was protecting. That night, I sat on the bed and I opened the journal. The journal confirmed everything Linnea had said. Rosalind wrote about feeling suffocated. She wrote about how Vera had tracked her location on her phone until she was 25 years old. She wrote about Frederick. She wrote that Frederick would sit in the room while Vera went through Rosalind's things or questioned her decisions, and Frederick would just be quiet. She wrote that his silence was its own kind of agreement. Then I got to the pages about me. Rosalind wrote, I found someone who lets me be the version of myself I actually am. I am terrified my family will take that from me the way they take everything. I had to put the journal down. She had been scared of losing me. Not because of anything I did, because of them. A few pages later, she wrote about the birthday plan. She wrote, I am going to introduce him at my 30th birthday. If they cannot accept him, I am done. I am choosing him. I am choosing my life. I read that line 3 times. I am choosing him. She had been ready to give them up for me, and she never got the chance. And now here I was, 9 months after her funeral, doing the exact opposite of what she had been working toward. I was sitting in her condo, taking Vera's calls every week, letting Vera turn me into the next person she could hold on to and worry about and control. I was doing the thing Rosalind had been working so hard to stop doing. 2 days later, Vera called again. I let it go to voicemail. About an hour later, a text came through. It said, I feel like I am losing my daughter all over again. I sat at the kitchen table. I stared at the phone. The words just sat there on the screen. Losing my daughter all over again. Like I was the one taking Rosalind from her. I thought about Rosalind writing in that journal. I thought about the notes I had peeled off the bathroom mirror. You are allowed to take up space. Their feelings about your choices are not your responsibility. And then I knew what I had to do. I picked up my phone and I called Linnea. I said, I need to talk to your mother, in person. Can you be there? Linnea said, yes, I think it is time. I drove to Vera's house on a Saturday morning. 3 hours again. The same highway. When I pulled up, Linnea's car was already in the driveway. Frederick was in the kitchen. Linnea was sitting in the living room. Vera was at the dining room table. She had 2 cups of tea out. She looked up when I walked in and her face was hopeful. Her eyes went to my hands. She was looking for the journal. She thought I had driven 3 hours to bring it to her. I sat down across from her. I put my hands flat on the table. I did not have the journal. I am not giving you the journal, Vera, I said. Her face changed. The hope just drained out of it. She stared at me and said, why not? I kept my voice steady. Because Rosalind did not write it for you. She wrote it for herself, and I have to protect what she needed, even now. Vera's jaw tightened. You are keeping my daughter from me. No, I said. Rosalind kept herself from you, and she had reasons. And those reasons did not make her a bad daughter. They made her someone who was trying to survive a family that loved her in a way that was hurting her. Vera leaned forward. Her voice got louder. I loved Rosalind more than anything. Everything I did was to protect her. I looked at her, and I did not look away. I know you believe that. Rosalind believed you believed that too. But Vera, she hid me from you for 14 months. She hid her whole life from you. She had her own condo that you never visited. She had a career that you still describe as her struggling. She was not struggling. She was thriving. And she could not tell you, because every time she told you she was doing well, you told her she was wrong. Vera started crying. Real crying. That was when Frederick walked in from the kitchen. That is enough, Frederick said. I looked at him. I looked right at him. Frederick, you told me at the funeral that you were calling the police on me, your daughter's boyfriend, at her funeral. And in 9 months, you have never once apologized for that. Vera Vera apologized 100 times. You have not said it once. Frederick did not speak. He pulled out a chair and sat down like the weight of what I said had pushed him into it. Then Linnea spoke from the doorway. Mom, Dad, he is right. Rosalind told me the same things. I did not tell you because I did not want to hurt you. But Rosalind is gone now. And the only thing I can do for her is make sure the people she loved understand what she needed. She needed space. She needed to be seen as an adult. She needed you to be proud of her instead of worried about her. She never got that from you. Vera looked up through her tears. I was proud of her. Linnea shook her head. You never told her that, Mom. You told her to be careful. You told her the world was dangerous. You told her she needed to come home. You never once told her you were proud of the life she built. The room went silent. Then Vera looked at me. Did she know I loved her? I nodded. She knew. She wrote about it. She wrote that the hardest part was that she knew you loved her, and she still could not be herself around you. She said that was the loneliest kind of love. Vera put her head in her hands. The sound she made was the sound of a woman hearing the truth about her daughter from the only people willing to say it. Frederick spoke. For the first time since I had known him, his voice carried something real. I am sorry for the funeral. For not saying it before now, I am sorry. I nodded. That was enough. It was late, but it was real. Vera lifted her head. She looked at me with her whole face open and broken and said, what do I do now? I said, you let Rosalind be who she actually was, not who you needed her to be. You start with Linnea. Linnea is right here. Linnea has been telling you the truth for years. Start by listening to her. Vera turned in her chair. Linnea was standing there with tears running down her face. Vera reached across the space between them and took Linnea's hand. I drove home. I did not play music. I sat in the silence and watched the highway pass and thought about Rosalind writing in her journal at the kitchen table while I made dinner. I thought she would have been proud of me. When I got back to the condo, I put the journal in the drawer of my nightstand. I did not read it again. It is hers. I kept it safe. That is enough. I pulled out my phone and texted Linnea. Thank you for today. She texted back right away. Rosalind picked a good one. I set the phone down. The grief has not gotten smaller. I have just gotten strong enough to carry it and still walk forward.